All right, our guest this week is someone that I've met a number of times, but I had an opportunity to spend some time with his pets. And he made it through a horrible injury at Pets, where he tore up his right hand, and he was a mess. He was basically a mess, yeah. Yeah, which gave us all a whole lot of confidence of his ability to lead and keep us safe. But Alan he's a healthcare analyst at Kaiser Permanente, and he's with the Lake Forest Park Rotary. For how long? How long have you been with them?
I'm a Y2K Rotarian.
Really?
Yeah.
You
Started
slipped in during the
Y2K.
mistake, yeah, when things went south.
Yeah. So I was like 40 years now. You look at Y2, what happened in Y2K.
That's a good point, yeah. He works on work management systems and things like that for Kaiser Permanente in Washington and Idaho and Oregon. He graduated from the University of Washington.
Yeah, go down.
Yeah, we've got.
I knew that answer.
You knew that answer. You were all over it.
Yeah, we've got to be careful. Sitting to your left is an avid kook.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think you have to be careful.
No, that's
We-
right.
yeah.
We get along.
Do you? Okay. Well.
Except for maybe one day.
One day.
One day a year.
Okay. Well, the room's big enough for both of you then. But he's a baseball junkie. Mariners, going Mariners, right? I guess.
Please.
Yeah. Please.
They tried to make a comeback.
That's right.
Yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, no, Alan has the honor and the hard work ahead of him of being district governor, and it's a great position. But the district governors I've talked to, the past district governors, always underestimated the amount of work it would take, the amount of travel it would take, the fact that your Kaiser Permanente job is your secondary part-time job for a while,
Yeah.
and you eat a lot of lunches and breakfasts.
A lot of scrambled eggs. These are very good. Bacon is excellent too. Yeah, the bacon is really good.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And it's hospital approved, so I'm sure it's healthy.
Well, if you joke.
Well, so anyway, Alan has a few things he wants. Alan has a few things he wants to share with us this morning about his role as district governor and his thoughts on the organization in general. So go ahead. You can do it from a seating position if you want, or you can stand, whatever your choice.
Well, let's go with the standing.
You want a podium?
No, I don't need that.
Okay, all right.
Everybody stand. No.
No.
I want to thank you for listening to me today. It's an honor to be able to go from club to club and see how different they are and how much the same you all are. We're all looking at the same kind of things in membership and fundraising and community service. And what's really interesting is seeing some of the ideas of all of those that the clubs have. So I think I was 5 years old when somebody first asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I'm sure I said something like, oh, I wanted to be a nuclear physicist. And I started thinking, no, my brain's too small to be a nuclear physicist. As you heard, my classification is healthcare data analyst. We computer geeks, we're weird birds. We can go hours, days, weeks, perhaps months without seeing another human being. Our constant companion is our computer. And while we make beautiful magic together, we can stay kids for as long as we want. I don't think I grew up until I was 49 years old. And then president of the Rotary Club of Lake Forest Park, Greg Swint, asked me if I wanted to be president during the 2009-2010 Rotary year. It was quite an honor to be leading this club that I knew was doing great things for our communities, both locally and internationally. So I turned 50. I'm now an assistant governor, and people start asking me a different question. How do I want to be remembered? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? And I chuckled and I stared at him and I said, you know, I just grew up. But then I realized that the answers to both of these questions was easy. I wanted to grow up to be, and I want to be remembered as, a Rotarian. Our motto, service above self, is something that all of us should strive to be, to strive to give service above self, and that goes for Rotarians and non-Rotarians alike. And that four-way test is certainly something that I look to every time I have a difficult decision to make. Wouldn't it be great if there were more Rotarians in the world? How safe and secure would we all feel if we saw on every street corner somebody wearing a Rotary lapel pin? Well, we can't change the world right now, but we can certainly take a look at our clubs. Siegel and Gale is a brand marketing company out of, well, they have 3 offices in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. And they were tasked with finding out why people join Rotary. And they came up with 3 basic reasons. Number 1, building friendships. When a new person comes through those doors, how likely is it that they will think that they can find a friend in this room? Number 2, they want to join to have a local community impact. Does the Rotary Club of Snoqualmie Valley know what Snoqualmie needs? Do the community projects that you do perform have the local impact that you desire? And if that's the case, then does the community of Snoqualmie know about this local impact? Reason number 3, networking. I was giving a speech once at the Rotary Club of Lake Forest Park. I mentioned that I was a computer analyst at Group Health, now Kaiser Permanente, and I heard somebody in the audience say, geez, I didn't know that. How many people know what you do or did for a living? And you retired from something. How many classifications of your fellow Rotarians can you name? And if the answer is closer to 0, then where is the networking happening? Here's a thought. Rotarians love to work with Rotarians. Take my house, for example. It was recently repainted by a Rotarian. I had to have my furnace replaced this year. It was replaced by a Rotarian. Our Puget Sound Rotary Network rivals that, I think, of the Home Advisor, Angie's List, even the Better Business Bureau. And we'll throw in classifications like attorney, accountant, car salesman, or women. And just by going to PugetSoundRotaryNetwork.com, you'll see a plethora of classifications that you can choose from. Our Rotary District 5030 this year is going to try to do as much as we can to give opportunities for these big 3 by holding 2 community service projects district-wide and 4 social and networking sessions. The one that might interest you right now is on October 2nd at the Tukwila Community Center. Why are we here? I believe that we Rotarians really do want to change the world for the better. And I believe the best way to do that is by contributing to the Rotary International Foundation. I love Rotary math, where a $1,000 club contribution can turn into a $2,000 or $12,000 or more district or global grant project with the help of partnering clubs and matches by District 5030 and/or Rotary International. If we want to eradicate polio and any of the other diseases that we're going to beat after we beat polio, like malaria, if we truly want to be remembered as a preeminent supporter of our communities, if we are people of action, committed to making everlasting change, positive change, then it is incumbent upon all of us, to give something to the Rotary International Foundation. That is why I can think of no other goal but to have 100% membership participation in Rotary International this year. The Rotary Foundation, said its founder, Arch Klump, makes it honorable for a man to build his fortune in his community, as it provides a means for the return of that fortune as a whole or in part for the permanent service to humanity. And I'm sure if Arts was around post-1986, he would have included women as well. Our Rotary International president this year, Barry Rassin, has come up with what I think is the perfect Rotary theme in Be the Inspiration. You folks in Snoqualmie are inspirations to me by your giving your support to Mount Si, the challenge race that you just had, and the President's Cup. I got to go to that next year. So, our district theme, let's go back. Hand in hand with Be the Inspiration, I believe, is Be the Example. And one of the things I've noticed is that we human beings do a fantastic job of trashing our environment. And so I'm proud to mention that one of the 2 district-wide community projects we're going to do is we're going to clean up the interurban trail, which is perfect in our district, as it starts in Everett, goes down to Fremont, begins again in Tukwila, and goes all the way to Auburn. We Rotarians can be the example of picking up after ourselves. Our Rotary theme this year is Come Together, Rotary. We are different, you and I. We are males and females. We are young and seasoned. We are students, professionals, and somebody I soon want to aspire to be and retired. We see all colors of the rainbow, but at some point, we're all Rotarians. And so after we Rotarians are done with meeting each other, not done, but after we have all met each other and found out what we do for a living and actually work with them, after we've participated in our community projects, both locally and internationally, after we've given what we can to the Rotary International Foundation, well then I think it's going to be time to party. And our party is going to be at our 18th to the 19th, 2019. It'll be in Spokane. This is going to be a unique conference in a few ways. Number one, we've never been in Spokane before. It's high time we go there. And number 2, this is a joint district conference with Rotary District 5080, which encompasses a little bit of eastern Washington. It goes up as far as Golden, British Columbia, and as far south as Walla Walla. So please join us for golf and wine tasting and fellowship and breakout sessions. We'll also be doing a community service projects where we will be sorting food and food packing at Spokane Second Harvest Food Bank. We should also mention our speakers. We have Angelo Lombardo, who's the success guru. We'll have Rotary International President himself, Barry Rassin, and world leader, Bill Gates. We're going to try to make this conference as accessible as possible by only charging $249 for registration for Rotarians and $169 for the Rotaracts and the RILA folks. So I hope that you'll all be able to join us. I think that I want to stop there because I want to hear from you folks and just to see what is making the Rotary Club of Snoqualmie Valley tick. So I'll open up for questions, but I also have a question for you, and I just would like to know what you think the passion is at Snoqualmie Valley. So anybody want to say beer?
That's where they hooked me. Golf and beer. I said, I'll come in for that. But I've been on board now 14, almost 15 years, and I've kind of seen the evolution. I served as a club president a decade ago, so it was a long time ago. But one of the things that we always are pushing on is membership growth and growth within the club. And what we kind of seen, at least in my humble opinion, is that we push the numbers up, but you also didn't get the equivalent amount of work out of that group, and then we came back down. So now we're back down, what, low 20s or something?
Like 25.
Yeah, and we were probably at mid 30s at one point. And I think there's a value having a club that's bigger, but also at the same time, it's got to be, committed to doing what we're trying to accomplish here in the valley.
I am amazed what a smaller club can actually do for the community. I was at Duwamish Southside recently, and they're right around the 20 25 mark. And they were cooking 1,500 hot dogs during a back-to-school event at the Highline School District. And there were I think about 3,000 kids actually went by. So it's just incredible what y'all can do with the stick-to-it-ness you have.
Well, it's true, you know, we joke about it, but we do have, I think, we have fun doing a lot of our fundraisers. I think our fundraisers, you know, they don't feel like work. They're just, we have a golf tournament, we have a beer garden, but we get to give back to the community upwards of $20,000 to more $1,000 a year, and that's where it really feels good. When you got, you know, a dozen people that are needing stuff, and they're coming to us and we're able to augment or help achieve goals, that makes your life a little bit wholer, a little fuller.
I think there's probably two things I see that we can focus on this year as a group though. And one is boots on the ground projects. And so the idea of participating in some larger scope projects would be kind of fun too. But we have a few things identified for the valley, one of which is to work with
Snoqualmie.
Thank you,
Rotary.
Snoqualmie, yeah. But then the other thing is to educate the community. Some might call it tooting your own horn, but I'm going to characterize it as educating the community on the impact that we actually do have. And I think by doing that better, and Jonas and I have talked a lot about how to do that, in that that will stimulate healthy organic growth.
Yep.
Where we're not bringing people on that have a pulse and fog and mirror. We're bringing people on to see the value that we bring to the table, and they want to be part of that. Yeah, and because that's the type of growth I think we need. And while I've challenged us to grow net 10 this year, I want it to be a healthy 10. Now we have some low-hanging fruit with a few transfers that I'm going to take credit for, but. But the point is that, you know, people like Nancy coming in, I want Nancy to see the value that we bring to the community, and her to say, yeah, that's a good group of people, kind of fun too.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with having fun, but yeah, we're impactful. So that's where I like to see it.
Does Rotary help your job as being a cop, or do you see where it can help? Or?
I enjoy it. I get to see people in a different light, which is nice. Like during the challenge race, there were a few people who I have encountered, we'll go with. And in our police department, or at least I try to be in our police department, we have time to actually have most conversations, and actually heart-to-heart conversations that a lot of police agencies don't get to have. So we do a really good job of trying to be integrated into the community and doing a lot of community outreach ourselves. But it is nice to see them out of uniform and talk to them in a different light. It's a little less, we try not to be intimidating as much as possible, well, sometimes.
When needed.
Only when needed. But it is nice to talk to them in a different light and get to talk to people.
Does it give you any ideas for grant projects, or some things that
Yeah,
you want to bring up around here?
There are times where I've seen stuff where it's like, hey, this is the trend that I'm noticing, and things like that, or
You brought that to us.
or where money actually goes sometimes, so I can see like where it's actually going. Talk to people that are applying for the grants, because a lot of the programs that we give grant money to, the police department kind of works with, like Friends of the Trail, the communications one, which I should probably know the name of. In my defense, it's out of Carnation, so.
Yeah, they fend for themselves.
So, but there's a lot of organizations that we work really close with that the Rotary helps with, so I do appreciate that.
How about you, Lisa? Did you have a good time last year as president?
I did. You know, it went really smooth. It went really quick, which was really shocking. But it was nice to kind of bring it back around. We had kind of, not I don't want to really say cleaned house, but we kind of tightened up the books on people playing and not. So we kind of the club kind of shrunk as soon as I took. Yeah, as soon as I stepped in, and so I was kind of like, oh goodness. But you know, Steve is right. I mean, building, both Steve's right. So that we're a mighty few, but we get a lot done. And I think that the people that we do have that are in the club, I try to really put an effort to make sure everybody felt included. You know, no one was felt left out, especially like during golf, the pre-golf stuff. I want everybody, because to be hands-on, just for everybody to feel involved, because people get lost, you know. And I know when I had my district, when I did my district conference before I was president, one of the conversations we had, we're talking about cliques and, you know, making sure to break those up and make sure everybody's involved and everybody has their hands on. Because the more you feel included, the more you want to be able to involved in the project. So I think that was a good thing, you know, being in Rotary, I do it one, because we get to give back, you know, that all the money that comes in, we give it back to whoever needs it outside in the community. And in terms of Rotary and connections, because I think that I try to put the order in which you put in 1, 2, and 3, the friendships, and the networking is definitely, it's great that we have that, because I mean, I've sold cars to I think 4 people in the room, you know, in the club, 4 or 5 cars. But it's nice for the friendships and just being able to get to know everybody and to do stuff. I had done actually what you had said, I think my 3rd or 4th meeting, where I went in and I had cards, and it was said 3 things and everybody had to guess who that person was. Like, people didn't know that that David wrote books. You know, he's an author, and so at the time everybody just thought it was Linda, but it's David. I mean, he's written like 3 or 4 books.
Well, defense, Linda was telling us
I
every
know.
meeting.
What is she just telling us? She was asking us to like.
So I mean, so you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't know what people do, because we don't wear that on our badge. Well, we're supposed to wear our badge, but we don't, you know, give it explicit. But it was kind of fun just to kind of ask, you know, questions about, you know, who is this person that I'm talking about, and to see if people knew. So.
Yeah, I've been here long enough to have survived Steve Walter's presidency.
Just get an extra badge for that.
And I think one thing this club has really gotten a lot better at in the last 10 years or so is I think we've been much more mindful about how we give our money back to the community. So we've established more of a process than we had in the old days. We've just kind of threw money around before, and I think that we've got a much better process now. So we actually have an application. We request that people who are looking for contributions tell us why they need it, and we look at all the requests that have come in and evaluate them and go through a process to say, well, we think this one deserves it and maybe that one next time. So I think we've done a much better job of that, and I think the impact on the community has been significant because of it. I do wish we'd do a better job of telling the community what we've accomplished, because we've done a lot.
We have a hard time doing that. I think it's natural, right? People don't want to, you know, yank your own chain and that. But I agree. If we can present that better, people will naturally going to say, hey, I want to be part of that, you know. So, and that's what we have to work on as a club, I think.
We are one of the world's best kept secrets, so we need to stop.
Yeah, so I'm a new member. I joined this year, earlier this year, and I was actually surprised when you mentioned the 3 reasons why people join Rotary, because in my mind it was about the values, the alignment of values. When I heard about what the club is doing and had the opportunity and the honor to participate in some of those events, like the Student of the Quarter thing and the Challenge Race, that's the kind of thing that brings tears to my eyes. Those are the reasons why I joined. And the other things, well, you know, there are meetups, there are many other opportunities to network and meet people and tell about yourself, and that's all good and well. But the reason for me was the real alignment of value, what matters to me and what matters to this club.
Perfect.
And
Nancy, what are your passions? What do you hope to gain, possibly by membership?
You know, my dad has been a Rotarian for 50+ years in Anacortes, so that's just always been part of my world, you know. But and you know, he was in it when there was only men, and his club for a long time was only managers or business owners. So I thought for a long time it wasn't a possibility, because I'm not neither of those technically. So So I was kind of delighted, I think I checked in with someone at Zip Fest a couple years ago and found out, oh, maybe I could join. And my kids have been in Scouts, and that's getting a little less time consuming for my husband and I. So I've been just looking for opportunity for some community service and getting to know people in the community. So, but those three things that you mentioned, all three check off with me, it's all good things and a reason to join. So, and I like that it's local and global. That piece of it as well.
Does anybody have questions for me?
I have one. What were you?
Go ahead, John.
Oh, you know, we often get upset or you know, hem and haw about, you know, club participation in a lot of things, and being a member of 3 or 4 different clubs, the Pareto principle of 80-20 is absolutely anywhere that you
Spot
go.
on.
And so it's not that you know, you're always going to get 20% of the people doing 80% of the work, right? And I think you just got to get over it, and you can wish that more people would be involved. That maybe that involvement was in a previous time, or maybe it's a later time that they'll be more involved. And you know, it just is. It just is what it is.
I think one of the reasons I was asking about your passions is I really think that if you can hit on a majority of the individual passions in the room, you're going to get some more participation just because they're doing things that they want to do. So I think that's the big thing. And always find ways to give service back. I think that is, in the long run, one of the things that Rotarians can give the most is their time. And so we want to make sure that there is a return on the investment of that time that we're putting in on whatever we're doing. So you had a comment.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, it's not just our club that's struggling with retaining and getting new members. It's almost all the clubs everywhere.
Right.
What are your thoughts about that? From what I've been seeing over the last 10 years, it looks like Rotary globally has kind of plateaued at about 1.2 million members worldwide.
We're doing a great job of replacing ourselves. And that's about it. I think that what we do, and that's why we're doing it as a district this year, is that we do need to concentrate on, I think, those big 3 reasons of giving opportunities for people to give community service, both locally or internationally. Find ways for people to build more friends, to build their own personal network, and then networking, because I do think that there are 2 ways to look at networking, is that people can do anything with their jobs, but I think on the other hand, there's a great opportunity for us seasoned folks to be mentors to the Rotaractors and the interactors, and so that's why we're having these social and networking events this year. We're going to be inviting everybody, so they'll be able to. There will be something for people to network about, and I think that's it. Is that we just need to keep providing the opportunities for people to invest their time in Rotary in one way or the other. So, yeah.
I would like you to help people who are Rotary to find out how we can give ourselves in the community. Let people know who we are. I've lived up here for almost 2 years now. And friends of mine, I say, oh, I'm going to do something at Rotary, or we're doing this. What is Rotary?
Yeah.
They don't even know. They don't even know what we do in the area. They wonder, you know, if we're geeks that belong to Rotary or something. So I'd like it.
I would.
She's so funny.
What we are.
I
But
absolutely.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
It
absolutely
needs to be
agree
out.
with
I
you.
don't know
Yeah.
how you do that, how you publish it, I guess.
I think we do need to go back and to do some advertising or public relations or something like that. I've heard the Masons on the radio and on TV recently, and there's no reason why we can't do that. I also think that we have opportunities for like this banner for talking about our conference. It would be great if we could put a banner or something up during every Rotary Club meeting and just to let people know that there's a meeting happening here. We do need to figure out ways to be more visible, and we need to find, we do a pretty good job of helping people once they get into this room and start talking about club culture and how to run meetings and stuff. We need to start getting people into the doors. We need to start getting people to be interested and come in and let the clubs then take over and reel them in. Yeah.
Are you doing any sort of exit survey for when people leave Rotary? You
We're
know,
trying,
sample them,
yeah,
figure
yeah.
out why they leave, and secondly, what do millennials think of Rotary?
I think there's an interesting, I think it's interesting that there is a thing called Rotaract. I don't know if we're really, as clubs, making it inviting enough for the Rotaractors, the 18 to 30s, to come in. And I think once again, it's just, let's start doing things that they want to do. Not have them take over the entire club, but maybe a couple of things. I think we do need to do some more community projects and stuff like that to get ourselves out in the community a little bit more. But I'm not the one who can really let you know that kind of stuff. It's your club. It's the coming together and figuring out that on a club basis. Yeah.
So one of the things that I could see us doing as a group is when we publicize things, not necessarily publicize it as a Rotary event, because that may make it seem exclusive. So if we do a roadside cleanup, it's not, hey, Rotary's roadside cleanup, come join us. It's, hey, there's a roadside cleanup. And then if we want to put the little Rotary symbol down in the corner maybe instead of like up in the middle. But that gets people out. Like, hey, who organized this? And then you start the conversation. But you got to get boots and bodies on the ground. And by saying, hey, this company or this organization is putting up this thing, it doesn't seem as much community oriented. It seems like it's something for this club. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know that, it's okay, go ahead.
And then the other thing is that most of you guys are managers, business owners, or at some level where you have flexibility in your schedule and you can schedule your own things. One thing I noticed is you guys keep talking about maybe getting millennials or younger people. Most people my age don't choose their schedule. Their schedule is chosen for them. So saying, hey, I need to be available 7 a.m. every week or every day, or 7 a.m. once a week every day, isn't necessarily a viable option. That's why I'm here a good third of the time. It's because I'm doing shift work. I don't choose my schedule. I don't have that flexibility. So that's going to be one of the things, is that the younger generation isn't high enough in their work life to be able to accommodate a scheduled meeting like this. So maybe that's something we can flex around and things like that.
About that. And I think that business owners and managers really do have a responsibility to allow some flexibility. So I went to my boss years ago and said, hey, look, I've got a Rotary Club meeting every Thursday morning, 7 a.m. It means I'm going to be getting into work around 9 o'clock. And is that okay? And they've said yes. And you have to ask for that. You're probably not going to get it unless you go out and ask for it.
So in regards to getting younger people, Nate, I don't remember who he was talking to, but he had made a really good point in the fact that he said that we need to do more things outside and do more things, period. It would get him and more of his friends to probably, Nate's all over the place anyways.
Yeah.
But he goes, he's more apt to bring more of that group, because he's in that same age group, to do stuff if we did more things, did more stuff. You know, whether it's, and it wasn't even necessarily we're going hiking or biking, even if we, you know, like when we get this thing going on down to homeless shelter, I mean, that gets to be a hands-on thing. If we had more stuff that we were doing, I could totally, you know, do that. If we get into, Jonas's thing, is it at the bog, Jonas, where you're doing that? You know, even stuff like that, the hands-on work. you're more.
First of all, it's fun, and
Right.
you see people in a different light,
Right.
and with mud on their face, and, you know, it's,
Millennials are retro.
And I
hippies,
purposely
actually.
chose that we do that with the public and not just as a Rotary event. So-
Yes.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there'll be more than just Rotary, there'll be YMCA volunteers.
we have enough opportunities to have Rotary events at our fundraisers. It's nice to have people see us integrated into the community, is just supporting an activity, and also gives us exposure to non-Rotarians, so they can see what we do and potentially bring them on board.
Just make sure you don't burn yourself out. When you keep on saying, we need to do more, do more, do more, just
Right.
make sure that you do have some time to
True,
breathe.
true statement.
So-
And it doesn't always have to be everybody, right?
Right,
It's divide and conquer.
yeah.
Well, you know, there was a comment earlier about the amount that participate, and that's very true. But I also look around this table, and I see that of the 3 events we had this summer, we had a huge participation amongst this group, and a few people that aren't here. So we really, I'm impressed with the members that we have on how they can participate. I mean, there's some times when there are things going on where you can't. There's stupid things like weddings, you know, things like that, where it's a lame excuse, but it's okay. It's okay. Or Sharon's traveling to, sorry, I'm gonna be in Russia, you know, again, another lame excuse. But,
They're investigating me.
yeah, well, there's a dossier for it, yeah, but the point is that everybody, if they are able, people around this table and those that aren't here, really try to,
They really do.
because we do try to make it fun. There are some events we could do better to make it a little less stressful. But bottom line is, I think people have fun most of the time.
That's the number one reason why people stay, I think, at Rotary, is because it is fun.
It might be because of the breakfast too.
Guys, all right,
I'll
well,
be
okay.
back. Thank you, everybody, for.
Thank you.
for your time.